Baruch here at genConnect.com, and I'm talking today with Rita Braver, the national correspondent for CBS News Sunday Morning. How are you, Ms. Braver?
I'm great, thank you.
So first of all, what's it like? You're used to asking the questions. What's it like to be in the interviewee seat?
It's so much easier because I didn't have to prepare a whole bunch of questions.
So you prefer this?
Yes, if the questions are good, I'll prefer it. We'll see
God,
how that's
now
a
you're
test
putting
for
some
you.
pressure.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, you have been in the news business for quite a few years,
Right,
and you
since
really
before you were born. Go ahead, say it. I'm fine with it.
and you've made an incredible impact. Over the last decade, let's say, there's been a very big development, a very big evolution in how people both gather news, disseminate news, and consume news. What do you make of how that landscape has really changed?
Wow, that's such a huge subject. But, when I came into news, for example, there were 3 evening news programs, CBS, NBC, and ABC. And that was how many people got their news of the day, supplemented by their daily newspapers. They listened to it on radio, and now, and they had to wait. They had to wait till the end of the day to get sort of a news wrap-up. Once cable started, that changed the landscape hugely because, to a certain extent, you can just turn on for any half hour, figure out what the news of the day is, turn it off, and go on your way. You don't have to watch a television news program, although I argue that if you take a look at the evening news programs on any of the networks, not just CBS, you'll find a really well-packaged, insightful summary that you don't necessarily get from minute-by-minute coverage. But what all of this has done, it's, I think, driven news coverage so that every moment there's a deadline instead of having one deadline at the end. And constantly, little things get blown up on cable because that's all there is to talk about in this time period. Now you have the addition of bloggers, you have the addition of people who, anyone can get on the internet and say whatever they want, and it never comes down. It's always there. I read things about myself sometimes that make me laugh.
Completely false.
Completely false.
And yet they're out there as fact. So what is the consumer supposed to do? What is the average citizen supposed to do who may not have the framework that you have in the news business? How are they supposed to consume news and really distill what they should believe and what they shouldn't?
I think part of it is being an educated viewer and figuring out, and by viewer, I mean viewer of television, but viewer online, viewer of all the information that you get. And figure out, what do you think of the credibility? How much do you know about the reputation of the place where you're reading something? Blogs can be really entertaining, but unless you have some idea about the credibility of the blog, be careful about where you get your information. I was interested recently to hear a former ambassador to this country from Pakistan. The vast majority of the people in Pakistan believe that September 11th is made up by the United States or that it was an inside job. They don't believe what we believe to be the truth. They believe some different thing. So I think people need to be careful of what they believe.
The online video is becoming increasingly popular. How do you think that TV is, as a medium on its own, is going to evolve to really accommodate those changes?
I think video is great for this reason. It's hard. Occasionally you'll see something that was taken out of context. And there have been some examples of that with, if you remember, Andrew Breitbart, the same blogger who went public with the Anthony Weiner photographs, was also a blogger who edited a Department of Agriculture woman's speech to make it seem like she was saying things that she hadn't said that were quite reverse racism kinds of things. And so you have to be careful, again, where you get your video. But I think video is a good thing because it's harder to misquote people if you have them on video. I always say that to people if I'm doing an interview with you. It's hard for me to misquote you, isn't it, if you're on television? Proof. Right. So there it is. So I think that's a good way. And besides, it's made things immediate. Some of the best pictures, unfortunately, that have come out recently, say, on weather disasters, tornadoes, things like that, are taken by every person, and this is a way for the whole country, the whole world to share in seeing them.
Ms. Braver, I have been lucky enough to receive advice from you, and I know that you've shared your advice and your wisdom with many other journalists, young journalists, aspiring journalists. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Learn your way up. Don't be in too much of a hurry.
And you know what? I'll tell you something interesting. Your husband, Robert Barnett, had a similar piece of advice. Think and do it methodically, and that's how you become successful.
So that's
I think you guys should meet each other. It's nice to see you, Ms. Braver. Thank you so much. And for more with Ms. Rita Braver, be sure to check out genConnect.com.